This is Fundraising Growth Now, the podcast for arts and cultural organizations wanting to build stronger donor relationships and raise more money. It's part of the RSC coaching program and is hosted by founder and CEO Bob Sweeney. For the latest insights and information, join our mailing list at rscfundraising.com.
Your ultimate Chief Development Officer. If you have a Chief Development Officer, aka CDO, especially a good and productive one, then you understand the possibility of losing that person. If you don't have a CDO, it's likely that you someday will want one. I sometimes joke that job descriptions for CDOs are far too long and could be shortened to make your goals, no matter how arbitrarily those goals were conceived. It's one of the many frustrations that fundraising staff have, and it drives good and productive development staff away from your organization way too soon. If you're an executive director, a finance director, or a board volunteer, and you back into outrageously large fundraising goals just to expedite finalizing a balanced budget, stop it. It's a terrible practice. Audacious is okay, unattainable is not. It creates a no-win scenario for everyone from day one. Now let's define a good and productive CDO. What does that mean to your arts organization? Does it mean the position personally raises lots of money? Does it mean they are a good leader? Do they keep the fundraising trains running on time? Well, good and productive has a pretty wide interpretation from organization to organization. Therein lies the potential problem for you and a CDO. For this and a myriad of other reasons, development leadership frequently change jobs. It's often reported the average tenure today for a development professional is 18 to 24 months in general, and only a few months longer in the arts. If your organization relies on relationship-based fundraising, then this should be a shocking statistic. How can you possibly build reliable donor relationships if the Chief Development Officer commonly has an expiration date of 2 to 3 years? So let's assume arts organizations want to find and keep the right development professional for their organization, one who moves beyond good and productive. The first step is to know what type of CDO your organization needs in terms of talent and temperament and skill set. What your orchestra needs may be different from what the ballet or the museum need, but typically there are a couple of major types of chief development officers to consider. First, there is the major gift CDO. This person is a relationship builder and a gift closer. They get their energy from connecting and cultivating, asking and stewarding relationships. This type of CDO will be focused on the prospect and the donor pool to meet the organization's financial goals. They are perfectly comfortable in most social situations. They have great memory recall. They are well studied in your art form, at least enough to converse with donors. They have or are willing to build relationships with board members, artists, and other local leadership to act as an ambassador and to help achieve the goal. They're great listeners. They're great presenters. They're empathetic and adaptable. And they're most often out front and considered to be one of the faces of your organization. Their job is to raise funds, and they may or may not share that responsibility with other leadership and other volunteers. The major gift CDO likely won't pay much attention to the details of their fundraising program. They don't get down in the weeds very often. In fact, they may not build much of a program beyond major gifts at all. Their victories come in building significant relationships and securing the big gifts, not in departmental structure or overall program development. You need a major gift CDO if solicitation talent does not lie elsewhere within your organization. If your board does not view or is not equipped to make fundraising a primary responsibility, and if the CEO cannot, does not, or will not fundraise, you need the major gift CDO so that someone is focused on asking for philanthropic support. Second, there is the tactician CDO. This person is also goal-focused, but pursues another path for success. Tacticians are focused on building a department and a program that will create reliable results. They need high levels of involvement from the board and from the CEO. In short, they find success through having many hands on the fundraising wheel. This person likes to win, by steering the program and having a team of people help own the work. The tactician CDO is a planner and a thought leader, someone very detail-oriented, always out ahead of the curve, somewhat entrepreneurial, anticipating potential opportunities and threats, and then using either as fundraising leverage. The tactician is usually a solid relationship person, but they use the skill differently than the major gift CDO because they are team-focused and process-focused. They not only make sure the trains run on time, but they design the railroad, they build the train, and they engage the engineers. The tactician gets satisfaction from a group win that a well-designed and executed program delivers. They are also analytical and know their numbers frontwards and backwards. They may never be a key asker, yet can be relied upon to create a philanthropic environment that produces outstanding results. You need a tactician CDO if your culture is that of shared risk and shared responsibility, one that brings teams of people together to accomplish great things, and one that relies on broad engagement rather than individual ownership. The tactician can bring order and energy to a cooperative environment. How do you know which brand of CDO you need? Well, start by examining your own environment and ask yourself some key questions. First, have you had high turnover in the development department? How about the CDO position itself? Yes or no? Do you know why? What sort of culture does your organization have? One based on shared approach or one with more singular ownership? Does your current CDO match the culture of your organization? Are you setting aggressive yet attainable goals? Or does your institution use development to plug budget holes no matter how big? How has your fundraising program grown or not in the past 5 years? Have your staffing decisions played a role in your level of fundraising success? Do you have board members and staff willing, ready, and able to assist with all levels of fundraising and stewardship? And is the CEO a successful fundraiser and a successful relationship builder? When I talk about the major gift and the tactician CDOs, the first question I often get is, why can't I have both? And well, the answer is that you can, but likely not in a single staff position. It's extremely rare to find someone with all of those universal talents. And if you do find them, you probably can't afford them because rare breeds simply cost more, even in the fundraising world. But you need both, right? Therefore, a successful approach to getting both is by having two complementary staff positions in your organization. One who acts as the major gift person, the other who acts as the tactician. The CDO defines the relationship. If you have or decide you need a major gift CDO, then the next staff position to hire will be a tactician who might be a director. Similarly, if you have or decide you need a tactician CDO, it's likely you'll need a director to serve as a major gifts officer. If you can't afford two positions, then it's very important to hire a CDO with the characteristics most critical to success. If you have volunteer or executive leadership fundraisers, terrific, hire the tactician. If no one else has ownership of asking for support, then invest now in the major gift CDO. Once you define the type of CDO you need, you can carefully curate a job description to emphasize those needs. You can then recruit, hire, and engage the person who is right for your organization, the one who is going to become great and highly productive based on your organization's specific culture and needs. And once this happens, you'll very likely retain this talent for a long time, far outpacing today's average tenure. I know it's a lot to consider. So if you remember just one thing from today's podcast, make it this. Defining the type of fundraising talent you need is a critical first step to achieving long-term and ultimate fundraising success.
Thank you for listening to this edition of Fundraising Growth Now. To find previous episodes, to join RSC's mailing list, or to find more information about our client services and success stories, please visit rscfundraising.com.